My name is Stuart Mactavish, and I own and operate Seascape Island Apothecary. A brief word about myself. I'm originally born in Canada of Scottish heritage with a name like Stuart Mactavish. Hopefully there is some Scottish in there for you, so therefore I've got the two flags represented. Personally, my career background briefly is 20 years with Avon products. That's how I got into cosmetics, toiletries, CFT, cosmetics, fragrances, and toiletries, in a number of different functions: sales, marketing, logistics, general management, portfolio management. I had about 4 years or so in the hotel industry. Amongst those things was hotel amenities, so again I perpetuated my toiletries experience. And about 2 years ago, I bought this brand, Seascape Island Apothecary, which is a bath and body brand. As you can see here, the logo for Avon, it says their slogan is the company for women, and a few good men, I guess, but anyway. For those of you who fast forward and like to read through presentations quickly, I've also added a bit of filler there for you to read the blogger feedback we've got on our products. So in case you get bored, you can actually read the feedback at the bottom of each page. So what is and who is Seascape? Seascape is a brand of premium bath and body products. It's inspired by, includes ingredients from the island of Jersey. Some of the key USPs that we've got is 100% natural essential oil based. So no artificial ingredients, no SLS, no parabens, no petroleum-based products. We're suitable for vegetarians, and some of our products are suitable for vegans as well. We'd like to think that our products are attractively packaged, and again, I can just show you what one of our cartons might look like, so you can pass that around. We are unique because we've got something for the whole family. We've got hand care, hair care, children's products, men's products, and 3 different bath and body ranges as well. Consumer feedback on our product is tremendous, as you'll see from the blogging excerpts that I put on each page here. And as well, we are as much giftable as we are personal use type products. So that's who we are. We're strong, eco-branded. Everything's recycled. Everything is possibly recycled. And we're also very focused on being British as well, despite my accent. Why toiletry is obviously my personal experience, having had 20 plus years in the industry. But important for me in considering to purchase this brand is the fact that the UK has got a tremendous history and reputation internationally for toiletries brands, be it Molton Brown, which is the newest one really of the 3 here, Yardley dating back to the 1700s, Crabtree and Evelyn, I can go on and on. So if you think of France, you may think of wine or cheese. If you think of Germany, you think of fast cars. For the UK, amongst a number of other things you may think about, certainly the UK has got a good reputation for toiletries. So having a brand, a premium toiletries brand from the UK for us, very, very important, and hopefully that opens doors for us. We'd like to build on this tradition and be another one of those, eventually, benchmark UK toiletries brand. So the kind of channels that we'd like to operate in, and by virtue of the fact that we've only been on the market for about 1.5 years or so, it's a wide open slate. There's nothing that's been crossed off and or built up exponentially. But if you can imagine, retail here in the UK, websites, our own website, e-commerce, as well as other websites here in the UK. And I stress here that this is a priority because being a British brand, we want to make sure that we're well established here in the first place before we then expand to other horizons. We want to make sure we've got a strong foothold here. We've got a number of different ways that we can get into retail or e-commerce here, be it maternity, be it gift, be it beauty. There's a number of opportunities there for us. Hotel amenities. We'd very much like to get into the amenities business, especially we'd like to think that, given the quality of our brand, that we'd fit right in with 4- and 5-star hotels. We're staying at a very nice hotel here in Birmingham, and I have to admit I'm very disappointed with the amenities. But anyway, that's a bridge that we'll hopefully cross at some point in time. When you think about putting our product perhaps in restaurants, in nice restaurants, in the washrooms, as a means of trial, cruise ships, Seascape cruise ships, works for me. Airlines, duty-free, we've got some of the products I've passed around, including our sleep oil. They're perfect for flights, those who want to sleep on long-haul flights. But obviously, again, within the theming of this particular presentation, for us, international is a great opportunity as well. As part of my past history, I've worked with distributors, I've worked in other markets, I've overseen other markets. So clearly, in getting Seascape going, one of the opportunities for us is going international. Now, obviously, there's problems that you have to deal with as you go international. It's a longer distance, or you're dealing with somebody on a long distance basis. Margins are obviously going to be a lot tighter because there's another person in the game, at least one other person in the game. Demand forecasting, you may not have as much feel for what may happen in the marketplace, and they may surprise you with a big, you hope they surprise you with a big order, but hopefully it's not a surprise. Payment, making sure that you get payment, that's obviously important as well. IP issues, trademarks, patents, making sure none of that's infringed upon and managed properly. Language and communication obviously is an issue as well, and obviously most importantly, logistics and customs to make sure you can get the product there in a cost-effective way. However, having said all that, in terms of going international and the opportunities that may be there, you got somebody else doing the footwork for you, running around day to day to different customers. All you do is see the order at the end of the day. You can ideally get bigger, bulkier orders so that while the margins are lower, it's all done in one fell swoop, which then helps, certainly. It opens new doors as you get into different marketplaces. Then there's different media, there's different other opportunities that can then hopefully grow from there. You've got, if you do get the bigger, bulkier orders, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, then you can get hopefully positive influence on your production costs as the volumes go up, costs come down, and then of course one of the things again being very important for us is it continues to build upon being British. And so therefore we want to establish ourselves clearly here in the UK as a British brand, but also leverage that going forward into international markets. Okay, so to date, where are we at with this particular channel of going international? We've got a signed contract with a North American distributor. We've got a signed contract with a Scandinavian distributor. We've got a signed contract with a Polish distributor. We've got, with the Scandinavian distributor, we've got a big account looming somewhere. Don't know yet, but, it could be something of interest for us. We've got interest in parties from Portugal, Turkey, Czech Republic, Spain, Germany, and the Caribbean. I particularly like the Caribbean one, A, because I think Seascape would fit perfectly. B, I can't wait to go do a market visit. I think that would be very nice to do as well. Thank you very much. We are on Chinese and Indian websites. Again, we'll wait and see what happens with that. That's sort of, when you consider what that could turn into or not, to say as well with all of the logistics that goes involved, we'll wait and see what happens with that, but it's worth trying at least. And then we do get e-commerce orders from several countries as well through our own website. So it's always very interesting to go back to them and say, how have you heard about us? We haven't really advertised or promoted ourselves. We got one recently from Switzerland, and I still haven't heard back, but I'd love to know how somebody in Switzerland found out about Seascape. So that is really where we're at so far to date with our international channel, per se. How have we done it? Initially, in formulating the brand and the game plan, I try to identify the optimal markets that one would go into. Obviously, 150 countries, 200 countries around the world, you can't go everywhere. For example, Scandinavia was on our list of things to do. More higher disposable income there. More inclined for natural products. Not too big. We don't want to run before we walk. So it's not too big. We can grow slowly and manage our infrastructure and manage our growth. So it's identifying those optimal markets that we'd want to go into, number one. However, you also need to be opportunistic. I've had somebody contact me, for example, from Poland. I would not, with all due respect to the Poles, and I've lived there for 3 years, so I would not have listed Poland as one of my top markets that I'd want to go after. Low disposable income, not so inclined for bath and body products like this. However, somebody said that they're interested in taking our product there, and I'm like, fine, great, okay, let's manage it properly. Who are you going to target? Is it going to go retail? Is it going to go e-commerce, et cetera, et cetera? So that's an opportunity that we'll seize upon, albeit, realistically speaking, it may or may not turn into something huge. In my past life, I've got a lot of contacts in other markets, so marry up where I would feel the opportunities to be, the markets to be, against those contacts that I've got, and perhaps something can happen. I've got a former colleague that lives in Amsterdam, so I've offered to him the opportunity to look at Seascape for Benelux and Germany. We'll see what happens. It's still early days yet, but that's where, you know, contacts in past lives may help as well. But I will say, and then there's unsolicited contacts. We do get people calling us, be it through our PR programs or advertising, be it sales that we've made to other countries, or people have brought product into other countries, be it word of mouth, be it web searches. So I'm pleased to say that we do get unsolicited contacts as well, saying we'd like to inquire about taking your product into Spain, for example. But a big resource, and this is sort of, you know, not just sort of paying the landlord here, a big resource has been UKTI. Specifically, what we've done is we've signed up and registered for all the newsletters that come. And so, you know, once, twice, 3 times a week, depending on the volume, you get the newsletter and it says, company in, well, there's one recently, company in Czech Republic is looking for British-made personal care and giftable products. Great. Click on it, fill in the little space to fill in, send it off. You may or may not hear back from them, but that is a very valuable resource and saves you a lot of time and effort. They've done all the hard work, plus you know the leads are creditable coming from UKTI. So that is a huge valuable resource. You know, and they create the leads for us, which is wonderful. What's also been very, very good as well is a source of advice. For example, when we were considering this website that had approached us from China, through following up on leads with UKTI, I have now contacts with UKTI in China. I wrote to them and said, this website has approached us. Are they on your do not do business with list of some sort, or is there anything that you may know about them? So that they could, you know, they've got the on-the-ground information that we may not have. And that saves an awful lot of time and effort. And again, if you know that if it's UKTI sanctioned, then that ticks a lot of boxes as far as we're concerned. And financial support. Through UKTI, there's other ways that you can, for Spring Fair, we were here at Spring Fair, first time that we were here, and we were able to get a grant to help offset the cost of the fair. Being a small, medium-sized enterprise, that was great, and that really helped. So as part of our international strategy and international direction, clearly UKTI does play a big role for us. And what's not mentioned here as well is if you wanted to invest £1,000 or £2,000 and you're bound and determined to get into a market, you could then approach UKTI and say, can you do some market research, introduce our brand to the market, go around to some potential distributors or the people that you want to talk to, and they'll do it for you. So a big part of our strategy and a big part of how we see building our international channel going forwards. So again, the implications of going international, as I've mentioned before, there are the issues that you have to deal with and have eyes wide open to, and hopefully manage them without getting any surprises. But then as far as managing is concerned, one of the things that we're focusing on and being very careful on is making sure we can understand the market as much as possible. Again, having lived in, worked, managed, and or overseen a number of European markets, the EU certainly for me is an area that I'm comfortable with, where I feel I understand a lot of the markets. Therefore, if I'm approaching and talking to a distributor, or even if an international retailer comes directly, that I've got some feel for what that market might be. But obviously, understanding the market is absolutely critical. Understanding the customs. I talked to a potential distributor for the Middle East, and one of our key products, I didn't bring it to show around, but one of our key products is a body butter, a very nice, very decadent lavender-based body butter. Ladies, are you interested at all? And right back, they said, listen, in the Middle East, we don't do body butters. It's just not happening. Okay, great, but that's a little local custom that we didn't otherwise know that you need to sort of try to get some sort of appreciation for going forwards. Obviously, you've got to set expectations for yourself in terms of what that market may deliver, but as much as, if not more, setting expectations for that distributor or that party in the other market, simply because are they going to sample? Are you going to sample? Who's going to contact the blogs? Who's going to contact the media? Are you going to come over and visit with them to visit with customers or not? What about doing trade shows? Who's going to pay for the trade shows? So that all needs to be clearly specified and clearly organized and clearly arranged, which then obviously leads into clearly defining roles and responsibilities, and at the end of the day, having a contract. And again, these are sort of the ways that we have gone forwards here in terms of managing our international approach. And as I said earlier, you know, we've got contracts now in several different markets, and we won't do business with anybody until it's buttoned down. And I know this is not rocket science, but you know, this obviously needs to be done, and it's all part of the managing the expectations. So, in summary then, the remit as far as this presentation is concerned was 20% of one's revenues going forwards from an international basis, and how does one get there? Well, we're projecting this year to have about 25% of our revenues coming internationally. With that, of course, it's lower margins, so you then have to make sure that you haven't completely diluted your margin base with international sales, so therefore you got to keep UK and domestic going because that's where the margins are better, conceivably. So it's a balancing act, but at this point in time, going forwards, to project 25% of our sales coming from international works within the whole scheme of things. One of the beautiful things, I suppose, about a new business or starting your own business, and one of the scariest things that keeps you up at night as well, is if you've got a number of different channels that you feel that you can properly pursue, as I alluded to earlier, you actually don't know which channel is going to be the one that hits it, and it may be that the low margin channel, you know, Sod's Law, as you guys say here, could be that the low margin channel is the one that explodes, so you have to manage that accordingly. But 25% is doable as far as our value chain is concerned, and even more if that presents itself. That would be a great opportunity. So going forwards, how are we going to continue to manage the business with focus on international and the overall business development? We will continue to prioritize the UK, and that's the footprint that we need to make sure that we've maximized. It would be silly to position ourselves as being a UK bath and body brand without any business in the UK. So that has to be a priority number one, and obviously being a British brand, that is very important for us. We will continue to evaluate channel opportunities. We do have a number of irons in the fire, be it on the amenity side, be it on cruise ship side, be it on a number of different perspectives. We'll continue to evaluate all of the channel possibilities and try to make the right decisions in terms of what's best for the brand, both from a positioning point of view, a growth point of view, a margin point of view, development point of view, etc., etc. As I alluded to, managing the low margin business versus the high margin business and making sure we try to get that right. And we also like to sort of play around and understand, okay, what if? What if we hit a huge opportunity in Scandinavia and that becomes 50% of our business at low margin? What are the implications? And just try to map that out and just try to say, oh, okay, if that was to happen, the good news is we've now got a huge contract coming out of Scandinavia. Please do. But you missed the best part. But if indeed we are lucky with getting a huge contract in Scandinavia, what does that mean to the business, and are we okay with that? So just trying to anticipate, do the crystal ball thing a little bit, because the international side of the business can be so impactful. When I was with Avon many years ago, you know, when it came to shampoos and toiletries, the major players, the Unilevers, the P&Gs, the Johnson & Johnsons, companies like that, they did a much better job at doing shampoos and conditioners because of their volumes. They would produce millions and millions at a time, and with Avon, that we produce so many different products. Shampoo and conditioners were not our best-selling category. And it's also a question of the chicken and the egg. If you can't get costs down, therefore prices down, then it's not going to be your best-selling category. But we'd also always say to ourselves, we're not going to try to out P&G. Let's just be realistic. So, we're not going to try to out Molten Brown. We're not going to try to out L'Occitane. We'd like to grow slowly, steadily, and not drive it through the ceiling tomorrow because we know we can't handle that. So it's a question of trying to anticipate what would happen going forwards. And the only fly in the ointment is if you do go international and you do get, all of a sudden a big order that comes out at low margin, what's that going to do to you? So you've got to anticipate that, be ready for it, and hopefully be able to handle that going forwards. So that is it. That is what we are doing. We're Seascape Island Apothecary. It'd be nice to be here a year from now and tell you how things have been going. And if indeed we've met or exceeded our international expectations. Certainly the irons in the fire are such that we'd like to think that there are opportunities there. And again, sort of paying the advertisers here, paying our bills. UKTI has been a big part of that and helping us for that. And we will continue to use them as a resource. And I think it's something that anybody can do. Obviously, it depends on your business. It depends on the kind of product that you've got. The bad news is the bath and body category, the toiletries category, is a very competitive category. So we, as I say, we're not trying to out Molten Brown. All we'd like to do is to get our fair share of the pie. But we'd like to think by being a British toiletries brand that will open doors for us internationally and give us a chance to get that growth that we need going forwards.